Welcome to the Fox 44 Debrief, where each week we interview the reporters who brought you the big stories of the week. Today we're talking with Kendall Green, Cameron Stewart about the U.S. District 17 House race. Guys, this was a race that ended in a runoff. First off, tell me what it was like to cover a political race like this. What was it like being at a watch party as they're actually watching those numbers come in?
I mean, I'll tell you, these folks are into it. They're base, they're supporters. They came in and they just knew what they were getting themselves into. They know Pete Sessions. They followed him for a long time. You know, he was a past serving congressman, and they were into it. So, I mean, these folks were excited.
Now, you were at the Renee Swann watch party, and she did slightly less than Pete Sessions, but still she made it to the runoff. What was it like watching those guys, her supporters, watch the numbers roll in?
Right, well, it was actually a little bit different from Kendall's in terms of the support in general, maybe not lack of, but I always found congressmen and women pretty interesting because they can just be normal people that want to make a difference. And this was kind of the case I found out with Renee Swann. She's a local business owner, has been for 40 years. So the people that are with her aren't necessarily contacts she's made through politics. They're her friends, they're her family, you know, her kids were there, her kids' friends and their families are all there. So it really was kind of a community feel. And they're people who've known Renee for a long, long time, it seemed like. So it had that bit of intensity, but it did feel extra passionate because it was people that she's had in her life and she really cares about. And she says that at the end at the press conference, that she was just so thankful to have everyone there. So it had a bit of a family feel, actually, in a weird place, you know, obviously an election party, to have that kind of feel.
Now, something I noticed that, you know, I was at the anchor desk throwing to each of you to, you know, get the various watch parties. And as the night progressed, your watch party seemed a little more lively. As Pete Sessions did a little better. We actually never, during the newscast, heard from Renee Swann. That wasn't until after. But tell me how, for you at least, at the Pete Sessions party, how did it change as the night went on?
Well, at first, you know, folks were just filing in, and it seemed like everybody just wanted pizza and get some food at first. But the progression, I mean, people started seeing that they had the lead and they were winning. They started winning in McLennan County. Numbers started coming in from Limestone County and Milam County. They saw that they had a momentum, so more people were calling their friends and saying, hey, come support. And I noticed particularly about Sessions, he wanted to be in front of the camera. He wanted to talk and engage with his folks, and yeah, so folks just started coming in and showing love. And yeah.
You brought up an interesting point. He wanted to be in front of the camera. So how was his reaction to you, a news reporter, being at the watch party?
When we first got there, you know, it was me and other stations as well. When we first got there, we saw that he was welcoming. He had a lot of area just for us, and we spent time, and he said, anything you need, I'll be available. I asked him, are you going to be able to go live with me a few times? And he was like, anything you need. And I think he wanted to make sure he had a good rapport with us.
Now, as far as Renee Swann goes, we never saw her go live with you. You did get to interview her, but what was it like? How did they react to you, most importantly, your camera being there to capture what was going on? Were they different around you?
It was definitely not the same. Let's just say it like that. Mrs. Swann herself didn't get there for a while, and she had said before, just no interviews. She wasn't really interested in doing it, was going to talk to us all at the end, but we were just kind of in a little bit of a corner away from the rest of the party. So when we weren't doing our live shots, I was trying to mingle around, but it was in the other side of the building almost. So you weren't really getting that feel when you were doing the live shot. You could see people coming in, but that was kind of it. So it definitely was different. It didn't seem like her and her party wanted all that kind of attention, which I thought was, you know, a little odd, but you know, that's some of the people you run into sometimes. And so it didn't have that kind of feel. You know, obviously Kendall said he had Pete there, was actually talking to him a couple of times, giving updates himself, and that really felt like an election party, whereas every time I had to go live, it was just me talk to the camera. I didn't have Mrs. Swann there, or any one of her supporters really didn't want to come on. So it was kind of a weird feel, because here's me on my first election coverage having to describe all that I'm seeing, all that I'm feeling, without really any help or direction. So it definitely, I mean, they took care of us, don't get me wrong, when we got there, but it just didn't seem like they wanted us in the middle of all that to capture that feel.
Right. Okay, so it seems like maybe they were trying to figure out what the numbers were doing, and they didn't want to do that maybe in front of the camera.
Right.
You say this is your first watch party to cover your political race. What was the most interesting part about it to you?
well, I just think elections like this are so interesting, and I kind of touched on it earlier. The fact that she had that community around her was really cool. I mean, it's just a lot of local business owners, people that really obviously care about their community because they live here and all about that. So I thought that was pretty cool, and obviously there's a couple of different elections going on at the same time. So the people that are here are really into their politics. I'm a third-party voter, so I can't relate quite as much, but these people were really into their elections, and it was like kind of a competitive atmosphere. It didn't get too up or down, but it did get really tense at the end. So I'm a competitive person. I like kind of that feel going on around it. So I appreciated these people were really believing in what they were seeing, and we're working really hard for this woman to try and get the spot.
What about you, Kendall? Is there anything that you found more interesting and anything that kind of caught you off guard, something you weren't expecting?
Yeah, we're watching the numbers on the laptop, and if you're at an election party, you're a reporter for that party, but you become the reporter for all of the elections. Like, I had a guy walk up to me, hey, what's the circuit clerk judge? What's the circuit judge looking like? What's that race looking like? And he would come back every 5 minutes with more questions about other elections. And I'm like, all right, well, I got to do a little bit more research, more than just Pete Sessions' party, of course. And I think that was pretty enlightening, because you have people that are there to support Pete Sessions, but they want to know more about what's going on in the community, not just with the Congress race. You know,
in the elections that I've covered in the past, something I found strange is you talk about these candidates for however long, you know, they're out there. You know, they're out there, they're confident, they're very public, they're bold in their statements. But at those watch parties, it was kind of odd to me to see them kind of stuck to that computer or the TV screen. They're confident over here, talking to everybody, making their speeches, but they're, you know, for lack of a better word, have their fingers crossed in front of those TVs, seeing them maybe humbled a little bit as those numbers come in. Did that stick out to you guys?
A little bit, because at first Pete Sessions was he was more humbled in the beginning. Right. He was like, getting everything for everybody, and then as those numbers start coming in, you know, the chest gets out a little bit more. He's starting to talk to a lot more people and communicating with the media a lot more, saying, hey, I think we're winning this county, and giving us updates. So, yeah, I see what you mean, but when you're in the lead, I think it's a different situation.
What about your candidate?
Right. I mean, when people are coming in, it's, you know, very cordial. They're all happy to be there. They're all really excited. And then as kind of the night went on, they actually pretty much conceded pretty early. They knew Pete Sessions was going to win by about 8 o'clock. They were already conceding it, which was a weird feeling. But as I said, it got really intense because it was that kind of second and third place. She grew her lead in second place, and you knew there was going to be a runoff. So it was weird that they were joyful that they were going to finish in second. I think I said it on a live shot. They're feeling like the bridesmaids, but they felt really good about it. And, you know, that's obviously not something you see in most elections, but we knew we were going towards a runoff here. So it was kind of weird to see kind of that mood change throughout the night, from very joyful to tense to joyful for coming in second. It definitely seemed really odd, but it was pins and needles for a little bit there.
Obviously, second place is much better than third place when a runoff is considered. So.
And it's a crowded field.
Right.
You know, so yeah, definitely.
All right. Anything else you guys want to add? Just your first experiences on this election coverage? Did it open your eyes? You're looking forward to the next one?
Well, it's a long night, and you know, I mean, we've got a big one in November. So I don't know if looking forward to is the right word, but it is a cool feel. You know, I mean, these are people who are probably going to be making decisions in Washington in your life. So, and they're right there, and some of them want to talk to you, and it's weird to be around. Sometimes they don't. That's right. But it is kind of cool to be in that atmosphere where, I mean, these people's lives can change in this night, and you're right there with them to experience it and reporting it to other people. So.
Yeah, and I'd be excited to see if the hometown hero is going to win, pull it off in the runoff, or if the career politician, you know, he's been to Congress maybe 11 terms. I'd be interested to see who picks, you know, how Central Texas picks going towards this election.
I think I've just heard you both volunteer to cover the runoff, right?
I wouldn't say all that right now.
Maybe we flip-flop you so you can see what it was like from the other angle.
It would definitely be a complete different situation for us both. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And thank you for watching the FOX44 Debrief. If you've got a suggestion about a story we covered that you'd like the reporters to elaborate on, please just email us at news@kwkt.com.